Oh, that's it's a strong onslaught of words, so carefully crafted and so also beautifully delivered. Um, Tough to say. So, how does it all sound to you, of someone who's born in Austria, knows Jelinek, works in the theater, lives in New York? Does it bridge those worlds, or this piece?
I think what's so amazing with her works is that I feel the plays are like novels and the novels are like plays in a way. It's just, I can really see her musical background in what she does. I feel it's very lyrical, how she writes. I was talking to that earlier to my mother, who's here to visit, which is cool.
Hi.
Yay. That I feel like she follows her thoughts all the way through, like even beyond. I feel like a lot of writers, there's a thought, and then this thought is done, and then we move on to the next thought. And I feel like it's almost like a stream of consciousness where she keeps going and keeps going. And she follows it, it almost goes past the initial thought. And it just brings her to the next thought, but it all flows. And it's very to me it's very musical.
Yeah, I mean, these words are so forceful, they do hurt, they do have power and also represent the powerless, but they are so very, very, very strong. How is it for you to deliver such lines, that text? And
well, first of all, it's very actually difficult to, because English is really not my native language, and she's so verbal. Mm-hmm. It's very, very difficult to navigate through the labyrinths that she creates, particularly because they're not just for show. They really do have meaning, and you have to literally musically follow them up, otherwise it doesn't make any sense. So it's very, very difficult, and it's almost, for every mistake I did, I'm going to hide behind the fact that, but it would probably take months to actually, pile it out and see what's going on with everything. But she did do a wonderful interview with Gitta Honegger about, I think, initiated by the play, but they talked about all sorts of things. And she said, one of the things that she said that I thought were fascinating is that she believes that no one can be an actor unless they're musical. Because the only way for you to read a play is if you can actually read it musically, which is the fact that you're really reading the rhythm of the writer. So you're really reading music. And so I would also be very curious to read it in German, and I'm sure there's so much more there. And when I first read it, and it's actually much different now because we did it a year ago exactly, and now it's completely, you have a completely different view of the text and of the situation in which we are. So I don't know. I mean, it's been an honor.
It is almost as she saw that Miss Piggy figure as a prophecy, as a type of female Tiresias who, sees what's out there, but for real, but also the future. You do look like a young Elfriede Jelinek.
I try. I put everything up.
Truly
and like
stunning.
The makeup and the hair.
And about the musicality, she was as a young age also a music prodigy. I don't know if you ever saw the film with Isabelle Huppert, the piano teacher, but it's very much also based brutally, honestly, on her life. But I think she also understands very clearly the onslaught that is in a way happening in a political sense to the country, to the people, to the minds, to our morals, to our standards. I think it is a strong response to it. So she is a very political writer. Maybe tell a bit about what does she mean in Austria or in the German or European countries. Where does she stand?
You mean right now?
Yeah. Or in general, yeah.
No. It's really bad, I can tell you that. I mean, I feel like in Europe, everywhere right now, it's really, and here obviously too, it's just like going like this right now. It's just, we're going down really bad. We just had a like publicly outspoken neo-Nazi elected, and he's in a coalition with the prime minister, and stuff like that.
Austria.
In Austria. in regards to her, this was before that happened, but I do feel like we all saw it coming. I feel like, she's very known for calling Austria out on its past, which is why I love her personally. Like, I always go around, I'm like, no, it's not just Mozart. It's, there's all this, like, our entire constitution is based on a lie. Like, I'm really, like, hardcore about the past of my country. I'm also very much in the Jewish community, so I'm like, it's important to me. And I feel like she, also the references she has in this play, constantly with the Deutsche Bank and the even she says like Segal and all that. She constantly wants to show how bad things are here now, and I feel is what I hear, and really showing up, like showing us this has happened before. Like, why don't we see this is a repetition of things? And this is, obviously Austrian and German past it's so clear that she keeps using that as the main example. Also, that's what she knows because she's from there. And I think everybody who's from there carries that with them to one extent or another. Yeah, and I just, and like Thomas Bernhard, who's the other main Austrian theater maker who constantly was referring to Austria's past, huge critic of Austria, and I feel she's the female voice in that.
Yeah, I think if her words and her writing would be a seismograph, it's shaking, the entire apparatus. And she really detects that artists are actually anticipating often the future. They're the one that sees what is going to, but also anticipating something, and they have that gift. And I think her visions, in a way, she's, they are scary. They are intimidating. Less leaves one speechless, even with all her words. But I also do think that, in a way, she truly believes that art, or putting it into a form and standing up as beings, but also as artists, is a very strong form of resistance, and that it should be done, can be done, and also being asked of audiences. I mean, it would be very, very hard to think this would be on a Broadway, on a commercial theater, where you go before and after a dinner. So it's a different idea what theater is. It's more like the old Greek idea where you work through social, political complications on stage, and you understand something and work something through it, instead of entertainment or a commercial, where she really is not trying to sell you anything, not any feelings, and not any messages, if at all. It's a moment of speechlessness, which she fills with words. Stefan couldn't be with us. The director, he got terribly sick with some very dangerous, I think, flu or virus. We wish him all the best if he is up there. So thank you for creating this together with you. But did he give you something to read?
I'm looking at this page and I'm like, I'm going to read another page.
Yeah, but
okay.
With some singing in between.
With some singing in between.
And yodeling.
Yes, but so he says, I would love to thank and congratulate Frank Hentscher.
I have no idea what that is, yes.
For a vision and courage and programming for the second time the reading of On the Royal Road at Segal Center. Thank you, Gitta Honegger, for translating On the Royal Road and for wonderful guidance and understanding Jelinek world. And of course, immense gratitude to brilliant actress Masha Dakic. We live now in a society of dangerous euphemisms. The brutalities of Jelinek words on the Royal Road are minor images of alternative facts existing in a so-called post-truth world. It is the world based on pathological narcissism and brute individualism. On the Royal Road has given us the king that we have created by believing in the construct of duality being the class, economical, or cultural divides. Within 1 year after we first did the stage reading of this play, we as a society have been through the 7 stages of grief. We have collectively gone from hysterical denial to apathetic acceptance. The resistance and the idea of change must prevail. The concept of post-truth, post-Facebook, post-God would have emerged as a disruption of the world we know. Jelinek text offers us an opportunity for catharsis and chance to see beyond chaos as a destructive force. On the Royal Road is an invitation to re-examine our individual responsibility towards collective. It is a powerful reminder on the consequences when the extreme individualism turns into driving political, social, and economical force. On the Royal Road is taking all the extremes and forces from them to address each other in the absurdist way, reminding us that at the same time the importance and beauty of our fragile human existence. I have seen this text as an opportunity to send a message of hope and change. Within the demise of an empire, there is a seed for the future growth. I want to see the world changed and built on the ideas, not afraid of art and aesthetics.
Well, thank you. It was the great German poet Hölderlin who said, if there is danger, that will save us, also is growing at the same moment. So maybe this is part of it. But I think after this big statement now and the long the monologue, which was so beautifully delivered.
Thank
really.
you so much
I
for
think
that.
let's open up right away and use this, what I'm sure Elfriede Jelinek would like most, that we really have as citizens a discussion and maybe hear from you if you feel like reacting to what the European from the outside think about the Americans or not. So maybe put some bit more light up here. So if you have any comments or questions or something to say, since we are recording it and it's streamed, so we would like to ask you to use the microphone, but is there anything that what you listened to triggered or what you would like to comment on?
Here.
Let's give him the microphone, yeah.
I'll try to make some sense of this. I was noticing there were several points that Jelinek seems to tie myth and lie together. So a lot of the piece, having just heard it, and I'm not that familiar with her work in general, so I'm sort of casting here, and I'm not sure how much of this is actually in there, but there were a lot of mythological elements, at the end. You have the story of Abraham, Isaac, that seems to structure, at some level, the piece. But I felt like there was some ambiguity about her relationship to the myth. So is she seeing the myth, do you feel, as a support, an antidote, or is the myth part of the symptom, Maybe she's got a complex relationship to those traditions. I thought maybe you could cast some light on that.
Also, if anybody in the audience has an idea about this, please do say. Is myth part of the problem also, you say? And is it, I think certainly she does use her mythical thinking in many of her plays. Also Medea was mentioned, Oedipus, and of course the biblical story of God asking a father to kill his son, complex issue. So yes, I do think that she says perhaps we all have to rethink foundational mythical thinking of who we are. Perhaps that idea, the American idea of exceptionalism, that it is the greatest country in the world, that it is the country that's loved most by God, that it is the best country, the shining hill. Which perhaps for a while also it was a great hope, and it's really true, but maybe now things have also changed, and countries in Europe or in Asia finding models, that also work well. So things are shifting, and I think, yes, she is obviously showing Miss Piggy is a strong mythical image also in pop culture, with bloody eyes, and as a Tiresias, a female Tiresias who is confused who she is and what she wants. So it's a very strong, I think, call to rethink mystical thinking, or shows the insecurities we all have now about what we thought is right or wrong, what's normal, what's not normal.
But at the same time, she seems to go back to that. She seems to actually need that in some way to be able to express the situation. So, it's there's kind of a...
I think...
No, go ahead.
I think, using myth or how she's doing it, I think there's a form of alienation that's happening. So she is using it almost as a tool of alienating to show us what's behind the myth. at the same time, myth is also bringing us closer to, you know, things we can't really explain, almost like a ritual, where we really connect even more. So I think the usage of myth is like a double side. It's two sides of the coin. You know, I feel it does both the things, and using it as a theatrical tool is definitely works both ways. And I think, yeah.
No, I was exactly going to say the same thing, because I had the impression of her using myths as a way to trivialize things, which is not so common to use a myth for, but considering that she also seemed to talk about how she has been writing the plays at the immediate moment when the things have happened. She didn't really necessarily have the time to like think about it and have her emotions settle, so she's really resettling the emotions with using myth as if something, oh, we all know that, but I don't, you know, but which we not necessarily, which we don't. I mean, myth is, and all these pictures of, we use usually for something hidden, but this is like transparent myth and hidden emotions and feelings about what is actually happening, right, because we still don't know how to communicate that.
I think Brecht, in the time of World War II, kept a Kriegstagebuch, the war diaries, where he every day wrote things down, collaged, put it together, and I would see that work also in a way of her. And of course saying that the war has existed throughout centuries, millenniums, kings. That's why she uses that, and that we, you know, that paradox expression that we need to know about history, because then we learn that we do not learn from history. And but we have to remind all of us about it. But still, there's some more comments or thoughts, and after that, the big evening, yeah.
Following up on the myth, while I was listening to what your wonderful performance of, I kept on thinking of who's wearing the emperor's new clothes. And maybe the story of the emperor's new clothes is that we are the ones who are wearing the emperor's new clothes, and we're, as Aldous Huxley said, the truth will make you mad. And maybe that's what she's trying to do in her own way.
Thank you. Some other things, yeah.
I got the sense in listening to, as you put it, like a flood of words, and I caught myself regularly hanging on to a snippet of meaning and then feeling it dissolve or fade away. And that continued to happen, and that may be a testament to the way in which it was read, calling out the pieces that have like a clarity that you can truly see, and then it dissolves. Do you sense that was intentional to perhaps mirror the senselessness of our times, or is there something else at work?
The way I mean, I don't know what she wants, because I mean, in my opinion, she's just a genius. So I don't know exactly. I'm just trying to kind of instinctively feel where she would maybe one corner where she goes, and I think that this is literally her inner monologue. And so whenever you are, you know, whenever we feel strongly about a certain situation, you know, we have all these like little. And so I think that this is how we all feel. We all have these inner monologues within ourselves that don't really allow us to accept the moment in which we live in. So we rather just keep ourselves within these senses. I don't know, I can't remember which way you exactly put it, but I don't think it's concrete in any way. It's just a mess. And that's what's happening. So I think in that sense, it's so precise in this messness that she makes. I don't know if that's even the answer, but.
Well, maybe we can ask another player here, Jonathan, if we can ask you. You wrote about, we will see your play about Saddam Hussein, about another, dictator or queen, king or leader or something. How listening to this text? I guess it's the first time too. What is your impression? So his play will be on Saturday, I think, at 8 o'clock also. Here. So if I might put you on the spot, what is your reaction on this? What you just heard?
I didn't like the text at all.
Yeah, tell us why. Yeah, tell us why. Yeah.
I thought it was this kind of leftish rant that didn't get to the point of anything. So I didn't. I couldn't connect to what she had to say about this. I went to visit the Trump Tower today. This is my first time in New York, so I was just walking around and I visited this tower. And it's so amazing. Such a crazy building and such a crazy figure. And Masha was fabulous and really versatile, and it was a great pleasure watching you. But as a text, I thought it was kind of... how could I say it? I don't know. There's this kind of irony, which is kind of conserved for I don't know, left-wing liberals, kind of this kind of irony of taking, the bad guys and smearing them out. And in a way, I think it misses something about this crazy phenomenon called Donald Trump. Just saying, oh, the dictator, the king wants this, the king wants that, and I didn't like it, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Well, I think she does diagnose them, there's the golden furniture, these kind of royal idea of the royal family, of people who by being the son or the nephew or the son-in-law are being appointed. I think she does give an analysis, in a way, but of course it is, as we said, it's a mad rant against it, and quite precisely, but also refusing actually interpretation. I think to your question that she actually doesn't really also know herself, where is it going to, and that one cannot explain it. Perhaps mythical thinking or stories can't be explained. That's why we need the mystical. That's how they do work. But she is a great wordsmith. So yeah, over here.
Hello. Yeah, I would like to agree with what you and I think well, I'm coming from Prague, Czech Republic. I'm the guest of Pen Voices Festival as an author, I think it kind of it is an example, this text. I mean, I haven't understood everything, but I know Elfriede Jelinek's work pretty well. It was everything almost was translated into Czech, I would say there are two kinds of plays or literary works in general, and either the author kind of wants the audience to laugh with him or her at the people outside of the theater, or the author kind of laughs at the people in the theater or wants the people in the theater to laugh at themselves, which is, I think, much more powerful and artistically meaningful approach, I would say. And I think that, unfortunately, this Elfriede Jelinek's text kind of, creates this community of us, this self-assuring community that is laughing at the stupidity outside. And once the text does not really provoke also self-reflection and does not trigger some kind of painful process or does not make us uncomfortable with ourselves, then it's not really. Then it lacks something that I think is very important for art to have. So I don't know if your sort of criticism is about something similar, but I mean, I'm just like, yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't want to persuade either of you in any way to think differently. But But just to her defense, first of all, this is not the whole play. There is like, I don't know, 30 more pages or so. So like this is just 1/3 of the play. And then, for example, in particular, what you have just said, perhaps I haven't read it in the right tone, but she says exactly what she said. Basically, she says, look at us. We all think we're just all of us, and we're not. I mean, this is our biggest problem because we think we're only speaking to our people, whereas there are other people who have other opinions. And so, to an extent, she, I think, is actually being pretty harsh in her own way.
And I also feel like and there are a lot of pages where you didn't do the whole play. Also in the parts that were missing, I feel, there is a lot of, I don't feel like there's a moment where she says, not even in the entire play, where she's like, oh, I tell you what way to go, or like, I know everything and you don't. Like, I do feel like, yes, I get the rant feeling, like I know what you mean, and I think that's also often how, when she writes, I feel it just, like I was saying, like goes thought to thought and it just keeps going. But she does cover all the political issues right now. She goes through every single issue and covers it, and I really feel. Also, I wanted to, when you were saying the ironic feeling that you got, I totally know what you mean, and that is, I think it might be sarcasm too a bit. It's a very Austrian thing. It's like very deeply ingrained in our culture, and I've been wanting to do like a Thomas Bernhard play here forever, and I go through his plays and I'm like, I can't translate this correctly. It's not, people are not gonna, it's not gonna read. It's so deeply Viennese that you can't take it in, which is, I mean, it's not true. It's been done, and I've seen great works by him translated, and even at BAM last year they did an amazing like solo opera version. I was just blown away because it worked. But it's hard. It's, first of all, hard to get Austrian German. It's like very specific as any language. It doesn't matter. But it's just a very, we have like, it's very deeply weird, sarcastic, dark, and it doesn't often make sense. And it's kind of part of our culture. And it's this constant like, this is like weird sarcasm that is sometimes annoying, especially I feel in the States. Like it could be really annoying because I feel people here are more open about things often in general. My take.
So I'm actually quite interested what has been just revealed, that this is only a fraction of the play. Can somebody sort of give us an idea of what the whole play, what is the structure, what we just heard, how is it sort of within the whole work? Can you tell us a little more about the play?
The structure is pretty much the same. It's just there's more.
I think it, in a way, it could be the beginning, the middle of an end. There is no dramatic structure. I think it is in that kind of post-dramatic writing, a stream of consciousness. And I actually also would say very much, she does also look at us where we are. I don't really think, with that word, she said, we are the good guys, and the outside, just we laugh at them. Maybe that's also how we read the text. A text also reads us, and not just we him. And so it is quite a devastating analysis, because she does often use a we and us. So I think it comes across, especially I think to an American audience, of arrogant European leftist renters come up. But I think it's much. In a way, it goes deeper, but still there is big arguments. She does appeal to the intellect. She's a very smart writer and does a work Is it the emotion that we have to go through, like Brecht would say, no, you have to appeal to it, but was he successful as much? And then in a way, as others who said, actually, no, you don't have the distance to this text. I do think it's a very valid artistic experiment to create a wall of words, to show a resistance, to reflect, and also this relentlessness of the Twitters, of the news that crash upon us like wave after wave every day, and she kind of puts it at least puts it into a form, and I think it's a strong piece of resistance in a way, but also perhaps to giving up that it might be changing. It doesn't have at all the mission to I think to give an ideology, someone change your life, change politics. It's a brutal analysis in a way of a situation, but this, of course, it lends itself to the people who are in the room that we see. It's just written for us. I think she writes it for everybody. I think she would love to see this in a most conservative big theater of 2,000 seats in Vienna. It's not written for people like us, actually, I believe.
It's really interesting that you're saying that, because I think the setting 100%, but I think often with her text, I feel the trap is to read it as an audience, and also in terms of production, to have it be a play. Like she's actually an experimental. Like this is experimental work. It's almost goes into it's very abstract, and it goes into a bit the avant-garde kind of in a way. I feel. All her works. There is something very abstract about her work, and I think a trap is to produce it as let's have a regular theater play, because I think this reaction can happen very easily. It's just a tweak, It's so hard to. We don't know what.
But it's also with her. I mean, even though she deals with very contemporary situations. When you read in her text, like Facebook, that, you can stare at that word for 5 minutes and, be ashamed and, just kind of realize it completely differently from when she says it. Because you don't expect her to use that word because it's so trivial and colloquial, and like you expect her to surprise you with mythical, and then she uses mythical for a joke. And so it's
she has like Face the Nation.
Yeah, and
it's to face.
Book of Faces.
Book of Faces.
Book of
and
Nation. Book of
Yeah. Some more? Yeah? Could you take the mic?
Sorry. Thank you. I don't mean to address you directly, but your comment made me think about I don't go to much theater, but I have read a lot of Elfriede's work as well, and that's mostly why I came here. But I appreciate her because of her brutality and relentlessness, and I'm just bring it on. Whip me with your text and your words almost, and this idea of plays that laugh at the community outside versus plays that laugh at people inside the theater. Those people in the theater, I would imagine elected to go there and knew something about it, so they were asking for maybe to be whipped or in a masochistic way because that punishment gives them pleasure and they wanted it, and she's giving it to you, she's whipping you and everyone and herself, and everyone's getting whipped and punished. And I guess with this idea, I don't know, I'm interested in what that comment that you said, because I think it is important you don't want to laugh at everyone around you and feel good about yourself because of that, but.
True. So my staff gives me signs like this over time. I think it means we should stop. Is that true? I'm not 100% because we are over time. Normally it's till 9:30 and we're already out of here. We are all going to go to the archive bar, which is around here on 36. Between 5th and Madison in the middle, but on the north side. No, the south side. The south side. So I hope you can come there, and you will join us. You can even ask more. But you really do. Thank you for coming and participating and showing interest in the work of Elfriede Jelinek, one of the Nobel laureates, and also a great writer for the theater. So thank you for coming, and I hope you will make it to Saturday.